Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and War of the Realms, Journey into Mystery, issue number 5 of 5. We're finishing it all out, dudes. This was a pretty solid comic book. Got complaints, but it is what it is. Let's get into this book. This is Chapter 5, The Daughter of Odin. Written by the McElroys, drawn by Andre Lima Araujo, colors by Chris O'Halloran, letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. Cover artists Valerio Scheide and David Curiel, and the variant cover artist is Kevin Nolan. This was a fun book, and this was a really good way to end the book. I have to admit, this was pretty cool. This was the best issue out of all of them, in my opinion, and I'm really glad that I stuck around. I mean, I was going to anyways, even the War of the Realms books that I don't enjoy. If it's a freaking event, I'm going to try and cover it, so that you guys get the gist of what's going on, or at least my opinion of the gist. So, what have you here? The Wonder Man and Spider-Man going after the baby to try and get her back from Ares. That was pretty cool. That scene where Ares jumps out of and destroys the camper, the camper from hell, to try and get at freaking Wonder Man was fantastic. I looked at that and I'm like, damn. Like, I got complaints with the art. The art in this book, it's not stellar. Let's just put it that way. Mr. Araujo, like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the history of this guy. I couldn't possibly. Could you imagine if I sat here and I did extensive research on every individual involved in every book that I read? I'd never get anything done. Ever, so all I can do is look at what's presented in front of me and what I remember, what I recall from the past, and I don't recollect ever seeing this guy's art before. If I did, then I hope it was better than this, or at least I hope it was worse than this, actually, and he's just getting better. For all intents and purposes, this comic book, the art is, this series, the art for this comic it's passable. And it's more than just barely passable, but it doesn't meet the expectations that I have for great artwork. But make no mistake, scenes like this, you know what I'm saying? This is exceptional. I really dig this. Just seeing him, like, you took the baby, I'm going to get it back. Break it out of there. That is awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of seeing that. So there's definitely hope, and with a lot more practice, a lot more time in the field and whatnot, this dude's going to get better. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. This dude's just going to keep on getting better. There are some scenes that are better than others. Like this, what do you call it? Like this scene and this scene of Ares drawn great. And Ares is one of my favorite lesser-known characters, But then, of course, then you wind up seeing scenes like this on the exact same page. Like, what the hell am I looking at here? But the action was fantastic. The one part here where Spider-Man gets away with the kid and Ares just throws his helmet and bonks him on the head. That is awesome. Clonk. I think that was cool. There are a bunch of really good moments in here. My buddy Luca Nieto Gray, Luca Nieto, excuse me, why'd I add an extra name to his title? Shoot, it's here somewhere. There it is. This scene right here, he goes and posts it. Go check out my Twitter if you want. He posted this and tagged me in it. Says, and he does a whole bunch of Game of Thrones stuff there. I know there's a bunch more, but anyway, the Watchers on the Wall podcast news site makes mention here where Sebastian Druid starts talking about, you should be on the side of the angels. Luca makes a good observation that the angels in this book, well, not in this book, but in this War of the Realms event, were actually the bad guys. They side with the side of Muspelheim, the side of Svartalfheim. They were all under Malekith's dictates. So the angels don't actually mean the good guys in here. Anyway, for all intents and purposes, though, this was a pretty good story. It was a good way to end the story. Look, still needs work in my opinion. Okay, the first issue was catchy. It was catchy. It would have been enough that I would have read the second issue. But the second, third, and even the fourth issue weren't really that great. Go and check out each of the reviews if you want my, specific opinions on each one. But now that this this line on this event is done, this title, this was good. If this was the McElroy's first venture into the comic book realm, that's cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing them grow as writers. They need to work on the meat of their work. If you don't have 5 stories to tell, then don't write 5 stories. If you don't have 5 issues worth of a story to write, and it's only 3, don't add 2 to beef it up because you're actually just stretching it out. There's a difference, I don't feel that this needed to be 5 issues long. This is, like, when you think about it, most of the stories were either 3 or 4 issues long for the tie-ins or the adjunct issues for the War of the Realms event. In fact, there were a lot of one-shots too, weren't there? So if we didn't have 5 stories to tell, and clearly there were not 5 stories to tell in here, then there were a couple of really good moments, though, feel-good moments, but it's mostly a nostalgia, and it's mostly like an elbow nudge, to fellow fans. The McElroys, from my understanding, I've never seen, listened to their podcast. I literally knew nothing about them when I picked up the first issue, and it was other people telling me who the McElroys were. Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, thank you for smarting me up on that. What do you call it? I could tell by this issue more than anything else that they are clearly fans. At the end, having all these different heroes showing up. Heroes that you're going to look at, and unfortunately, again, the art isn't up to par where you're just looking at it like, I could right away tell who that guy is. There's some people you could tell obviously who it was. El Aguila showing up in here. I'm like, dude, this dude doesn't get enough love, man. That's awesome. We got an El Aguila appearance in here. But there's a couple characters I'm looking at like, who's that? It looks like a splooge. Just a splooge. Like, what is that? Still, a lot of the Wild West characters were here, so it's more like a fan drawing a picture for another fan. That's what it kind of felt like to me, as opposed to actually getting some good story. But again, having Kushila in here also, the Demon Rider, that was a good way to show, hey man, here's this cool story that existed, and we're bringing this back. And this was a recent story, so that there's a lot in here. It's showing that the love exists here. What do you call it? There's a comment in here where somebody says, hey, that was really Simonsonian of you. Only the people who understand who Walter Simonson is, and that he wrote not just the greatest run on Thor ever, but the greatest run. He had the greatest run on any comic book ever, in many people's opinions. This guy also. I thought that was a great comment. But at the same time, all that is really is just a big nod saying, I read this, and I read that, and you like this, and I like that, so I'm putting that in there. That's great. That doesn't make a great comic book, though. It's a good nudge to people. It's a great way to say, hey, man, you might want to say that I don't know anything about comic books, but look, I put in stuff like this. That's cool. What I actually need now is amazing writing. If you've got an excellent story to tell, goddamn, tell me the story, because I am looking to read some good stories. There was a good story here, but I'm pretty sure this could have been condensed into 3 issues. In fact, I'm positive this could have been condensed into 3 issues. This didn't need to run 5 issues. You could have saved us $8 US, $7.98 if we're going to be specific. But this was, for all intents and purposes, this journey into mystery, this was a good little, 5-issue miniseries. I enjoyed this. I did. All my gripes remain. All my positives remain. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. They're going to be doing the Marvel 2-in-1 pretty soon? No, the Marvel Team-Up, right? Yeah, the old Spider-Man one, currently with Miss Marvel. So they're going to be doing the Marvel Team-Up issues 4, 5, and 6. More specifically, Chris McElroy is going to be... Clint McElroy is going to be doing that, starting the last day of July. So, awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Let's see, where the development as a writer goes. You got to understand... A lot of people are... I understand a lot of people are going to be upset and whatever and just be like, oh, this guy sucks. This guy, I believe this was the first comic book these guys did, right? There's the adage that a lot of people are trying to make relevant. The idea of you don't deserve to be in comic books. You haven't earned being in comic books. Even some of the people who have been in comic books and never earned their right to be in comic books were brought into comic books because they submitted a cool story or some cool art and they said, yeah, we'll give you a shot. Comic books don't exactly make people $1 million. Just so that we're all clear on this. Nobody becomes a millionaire writing or drawing comic books while they're starting out or while they're doing whatever. It is not a very lucrative business. Oh, there are people afterwards, and Jim Shooter would be the first person to tell you, there's a lot of people who are millionaires now because these stories wound up being taken into, like, how many people when they were writing, I just covered the panel of the three main guys, minus Ron Lim, 3 of the 4 main guys responsible for the Infinity Gauntlet. They will all tell you that none of them expected they were going to be, pulled into a movie and all this other crazy stuff. None of them expected that was going to happen. So nobody, I don't think, and let's put it this way, nobody with any sense on their, in the head on their shoulders thinks that they're going to get into comic books and become millionaires. I would like to write a comic book one of these days. I'd like to write a couple comic books one of these days, but I don't expect that I'm ever going to make money doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? Bob Layton, I just covered one of his panels, and you'll see when I finally get around to editing the damn thing and posting it for you guys, he's like, I'm glad you like those comic books, but make no mistake, I'm into movies now. I do movies now. I make money doing those. I'm not interested in going back and writing another comic book. Some of these comic books will be written, but I won't be the ones writing them. There's no money in comic books. So that's important. That's really important to understand. Nobody with any sense on their head gets into writing or drawing or whatever comic books expecting to be a millionaire. They mostly do it because they love it. And if they aren't the best at it, right out of the gates, how often do you get people who have a home run hit right out of the gates? Not too many people. You can name those names. That's like saying, you don't need to go to college to be successful. Look at Bill Gates. Not the best example to use. You know what I'm saying? Not the best example to use. The guys who did Google. Some people get lucky, man. Make no mistake, some people get lucky. But research Malcolm Gladwell and all of his research and understand what an outlier is. So I make my complaints about this comic book, but I am not in any way, shape, or form attacking any of the individuals here. From my understanding, this is the first time that any of these guys have done a comic book. This is a bang-up job for a first comic book, if I'm right. Or even if it's just, early in their careers. This is going to go someplace. And these people are going to go places. Because you can see, it doesn't take a fine, refined eye to see it. These people have what it takes. They're just not there yet. But man, wouldn't it be great to be able to sit down and just, with a very calm eye, look at these guys and say, yeah, I'm watching these guys' careers from the get-go. That's a good feeling. Anyway, guys, I've rambled on enough. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.